Up next, we have Burnt Offerings from 1976, which is about a family who spends their summer vacation at an old but nice mansion for an insanely cheap price. But they also have to look after an 85-year-old woman who supposedly never leaves her room. There were some concerns before taking up this offer because, why is it so cheap to rent this massive, nice-looking mansion? So there's something not quite right about the situation and weird things start happening, and we'll leave it at that for now. I saw it the first time not all that long ago, to be honest, probably a year or two ago, and I don't know why it took me so long to watch it, but when I did first watch it, I was quite surprised with how decent the movie was. And watching it again, I still felt pretty much the same way. I guess the one thing is that, and this is not really an issue with this movie, it's an issue with any movie that does this, but whenever they slowly build towards something, that build up is just a little less special the next time you watch it, I feel. And I think that's the case with this movie, is that it's got a satisfactory but slow build up, which leads to a really good ending in my opinion. So overall, I do like the movie, it's just repeat viewings it feels like it's just not going to be as special as the first time.
Yeah, that's probably true. My case is, I guess, slightly different. I've seen this movie a couple of times before, but it's been, let's say, between 5 and 8 years since I've last seen it. So I remembered a few portions of the movie, but to be honest, a vast majority of it I just didn't remember. So, it was really nice coming back to this one, which made the build up, just as probably impressive as it was the first time I saw it, because I didn't even remember necessarily how it ended. The thing I really enjoy about this movie, and this is a movie I find legitimately fantastic, the atmosphere throughout the movie, and it's about a 2 hour long movie, it's a bit of a slow burn, but the atmosphere is just fantastic. There's a whole bunch of tension in the house. These family members slowly going a little more unstable. You have the mother who's obsessively trying to walk around the house and trying to help the old woman, and then there's a father who just gets more aggressive throughout and throughout. You have, the father's aunt who is slowly becoming more and more tired and just exhausted. It's just a lot of small things that really work to build the suspense here. And then once you get to the ending, it's like all out chaos, Even though the ending is necessarily I don't know. I wouldn't go out of my way to call it amazing, but I do think it's a very quality ending. Plus, I guess I should also mention the cast here is really good. You have some fantastic actors and actresses, Karen Black and Alfred Reed, giving some great performances, but my favorite probably being Bette Davis. And she didn't do that many horror films to begin with, and the one she did do, this one, Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte, and probably Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, it's all fantastic work. So even if you're not necessarily a fan of haunted house type movies, hey, check it out for the classic actors and actresses.
Yeah, the cast in this one's good. And Karen Black's got one of the weirdest faces I've ever seen in Hollywood, I guess. I can't... Yeah, no. I'll just leave it at that. She's got a weird face. One of the earlier scenes when they're talking to the owners of this mansion, or house, whatever you want to call it, I'm pretty sure that's the guy that is Rocky's trainer from the Rocky movies. So immediately I'm like, you can trust this guy. He becomes a trainer later on. He's a good guy, so there's no cause to be concerned about this.
Yeah, so ironically, I've never actually seen any of the Rocky movies, which is probably not a big shock. But that being Burgess Meredith, who I know mostly as playing Penguin from the 60s Batman series. So it's just sort of funny seeing him in this type of role. And he's sort of a little playful, so it's not like it's altogether different, but it's fun.
Yeah. I will say that Oliver Reed's diving is something very special. That's something everyone needs to see. End review. Well, look, I mean, I won't go too much into what actually happens in the ending, but I will say it does pose some similarities to another movie I really enjoy, Insidious. Similar ways to how that ends. Not entirely the same, but yeah, it's just got some similarities, and so I really enjoyed the way they went about it. And I mean, talk about a payoff. I think it's a pretty good payoff for what it was a pretty slow build.
Yeah, and I think that would probably be people's main complaint, might be a bit strong, but I can imagine this movie turning some people off, one, by the fact it's about 2 hours, and two, that it takes a little while to really get going. I think there's enough substance in the movie to keep you entertained. It's not like there's no scares throughout. There's a pretty intense scene between Oliver Reed and his son in the pool. And the Oliver Reed's character, he also has some dreams and visions throughout the movie with my all-time favorite character. So it's not like there's not scares throughout, but it does take a while to really get to, I guess you could say, the meat of the story. Even so, though, I think it's a pretty entertaining journey. And I can imagine people not necessarily loving this, but I can't imagine somebody watching this and thinking, oh god, it's a horrible movie. I mean, I'm not going to go and say it's the best horror movie of the 70s, but it's like, I think, an easy top 25.
Yeah.
Oliver Reed's character has visions throughout the movie, and they relate back to the death of his mother and the funeral thereafter. And it focuses primarily on the chauffeur character, a driver of the nice fancy car his family apparently has access to. And the guy, he's played by an actor named Anthony James, who I don't personally know from anything, but he has such a pale and creepy face, and his smile, just fantastic. He pops up, throughout the movie as visions and such, and every single time he was on screen, I remember the first time I saw this movie, I actually legitimately jumped during one of the times he popped up on screen, because I thought he was just so creepy. And to this day, I think I have his face as something on my Twitter profile. I think it's a fantastic look and very memorable. It's simple, but it's very memorable, and I think it's a fantastic addition to this movie.
Yeah. Well, after I watched this movie, I had a look at the special features on the Blu-ray, and I think it was that guy, because he had a very unusual looking face. They had a interview with him where he talked about basically his career, I guess, and he was talking about how he felt he had a lot more to offer in terms of the type of characters he could play, but because of his face, he was pretty much always limited to playing characters that would suit the type of face that he had, so...
Yeah, I can imagine it's quite easy to get typecast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a DVD from... I forget when my DVD copy came out. It has to be like at least 2006. It's quite old. It doesn't have much in the way of special features. It does have the a trailer to this movie, which I was like watching the trailer after I see the movie. And this trailer, it's like a 2.5 minute trailer. Pretty much any scene worth watching in the movie is in the trailer. And I can't imagine the disappointment, seeing that trailer, go to see the movie, and hey, was it really worth it?
So in other words, just go watch the trailer.
Yeah, I know that it's a complaint with some modern day trailers that they show too much, which is, I in particular, I remember one of the Purge movies had a trailer, and I think it just showed way too much about the plot. But it's sometimes easy to forget that maybe some of the trailers of the olden days also went a bit overboard.
Yeah, so Burnt Offerings. I had a pretty good time with this movie, both the first time and the second time I watched it. As I was saying, it does move at a somewhat slow pace, but look, as long as you're still engaged enough, the ending more than makes up for it, in my opinion. So I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. For a moment, I would consider an 8, but, as I do, I think of other movies that I've given 7s and 8s to, like one of the first ones we talked about, Neon Maniacs. And I think, do I actually like this more than Neon Maniacs? And the answer there is probably no. So, and I gave, even though I struggled between a 7 and an 8 for Neon Maniacs, I ended up going with a 7. So, because I don't enjoy this more than that, I must give this a 7.
I have to say it's somewhat strange. I'm trying to compare Bond Offerings and Neon Maniacs. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I'm just comparing how much I enjoyed the movies, not how similar they are.
Yeah. So this movie, if you're a fan of some of the classics of the genre, this is a movie from 1961 called The Innocents, which is a fantastic movie, definitely worth watching. Movie from 1963 called The Haunting, which is a movie I personally don't love, but it has a lot of similarities to this movie. Sort of a spooky house. It seems like the house isn't letting people leave. It may not necessarily overtly be anything supernatural going on for a good portion of the movie. So, I don't know, this really reminds me a lot of the 60s haunted house type movies. It's very much worth watching. The cast is fantastic. The build-up to the ending is fantastic. And, well, pretty much everything's fantastic. I'm going to give this one an 8.5. And I think I'm going to round it down to an 8 out of 10. It's definitely a 70s movie. I mean, the thing about the best 70s movie you could name, it's better than that one, so.
It's definitely better than The Evil.
That's also true. Because that one actually has a somewhat similar idea behind it. And I was thinking about that one also. And that one, talk about a movie that does it. Anyhow, yeah, so if you have a choice between The Evil and Bond Offerings, I would recommend Bond Offerings.
That's right. Stay away from The Evil. It's not good.
Although it does have Victor Buono, so if you enjoy him.
There's some fan out there of The Evil listening to this and is seething right now. They're like, oh, these fucking guys.
I know. But hey, if it makes them feel better, it's just not a good movie and they should find a better movie to enjoy.